Good morning. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Holy Trinity Church. My name is Gordon Blue, and I welcome you. Thank you for joining us this day. We live in interesting times. Maybe you've asked yourselves a question like this: is there a time I would rather be alive than this one? Have you? From an early age, I enjoyed reading about different times and places. I imagined the lives of people in the situations of those times. Yet I never wished to live in another time. A short visit, maybe, but not a transplantation. That would be, for me, involuntary exile. But a short visit. Would you like to make one of those short visits? I wonder how it would be to go to the Holy Land in the first century. Maybe we could spend a few days on the roads of Galilee with the Jesus gang. We know that the imperial Roman roads were exceptionally good, but most roads, probably they were just goat trails. Imagine what it was like as they made their way together in company. Back in chapter 6 of Mark, Jesus sent them out 2 by 2 to cover the countryside. But here, in today's reading from chapter 10, they seem to have been staying more closely together. Why, in verse 32, Mark said they were on the road going up to Jerusalem, and Jesus was walking ahead of them. And he took the 12 aside again and began to tell them what was to happen. Then James and John came up to him, asking to be placed at his right and left hands in your glory. Jesus questioned them, and he was assured they understood the cost of that glory. And he granted not the seats of glory, but the price of them. He granted they would pay the price of glory. The baptism of Jesus and the cup that he drinks. He said, "To sit at my right hand or at my left is not mine to grant, but it is for them for whom it has been prepared." Who were them? Who were those ones? There are at least 3 ways to read this. In chapter 9, at the time of the Transfiguration, Jesus stood talking with Moses and Elijah. In icons of this event, one is always shown at Jesus' left and one at his right. Jesus was lifted up to glory on a cross, and with him they crucified 2 bandits, one on his right and one on his left. And after the resurrection, as the church grew and began to take on its institutional form, 2 different leaders emerged: Paul and Peter. Now, if we were able to visit the first century at the time of this scene? Would the intention in Jesus' statement become completely clear to us? Would it resolve into one meaning, or are there three or more? And would we understand any more clearly what the brothers were after? Did they want to be with Jesus out of their love and desire to protect him? Or was it simply that they did not want to miss a good fight? I remember that Luke said the brothers wanted to send fire raining from heaven on a village that refused to give hospitality. Or was it as the others, the 10, seemed to think? This thing that made them angry. Were the brothers hoping for an advantage, wanting even to become the leaders? Back in chapter 9, when the disciples quarreled about who was the greatest, Jesus told them, "Whoever wants to be first must be last of all and servant of all." This time, Jesus called the 12 together to say, "Whoever wishes to be great among you must be your servant." Although some of the sayings of Jesus are difficult to pin down and many details of those times are lost to us, the Gospels often can give a clear picture, a window into the motivations of the human heart. Even as Jesus led the disciples to Jerusalem and the events he clearly understood awaited him and them, and even though he repeatedly described to them exactly what was waiting, the men still quarreled and chafed one another, elbowing one another for dominance. So Jesus called them and said to them, "You know that among the Gentiles, those whom they recognize as their rulers lord it over them, and their great ones are tyrants over them. But it is not so among you. So here we are. It's an interesting time. It is a time of political upheaval. It is a time of technological ferment. It is a time of extreme inequality of wealth. It is a time of pandemic. It is a time of rapidly increasing knowledge. It is a time of epidemic mental illness. It is a time of drastically changing climate. It is a time accelerating the extinction of species. It is a time of unparalleled communication. It is a time of unimagined ability. It is a time bursting with opportunity. It's a great time to be alive. I wonder, how's it going to come out? Will this be the time when, through the naked exercise of power, one human, this week you might say Senator Joe Manchin, though to be fair, it could be any one of many others. Will this be the time when one human tips the final domino standing before the extinction of the planet? I hope not. And I think not. I am optimistic. For the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life a ransom for many. Can we get it right? I think so. And I hope so. It takes an awful lot for us to reconcile our wishes to be great. But there are a lot of us, and many are beginning to see the need. And a spirit of reconciliation is walking in the land.